There we are, Sheila Gunn Reid.
Oh, we're on. Normally we have a countdown. I was doing a couple of final things. Welcome to our live show, obviously live, Rebel Roundup. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid, and I'm joined by my regular Tuesday and Wednesday co-host, my actual real life best friend from Regina, Saskatchewan, Rebel News contributor, Lise Merle. Lise, how's it going?
Well, good day, my beloved Sheila Gunn Reid, and good day, Canada. It's so great to be here with you. I am so excited because we only have three sleeps
Yes.
until the Red Deer Rebel Emergency Town Hall meeting on separation that's happening this weekend. And
Yes.
just before the show, we were making plans. We were getting all of our ducks lined up. But I literally can't wait to see the people of Alberta show up to this event. And it's going to be a swish bang day. Sheila, do tell me so I can get even more excited what is about to happen
Yes.
on the weekend.
Okay, so it's a full day independence symposium. And we will have people and speakers from all sides of the debate. People who say there is still a deal to be had within Canada. People who just say, you know what, it's time to leave. People who say it's time to maybe try your hands at being Americans. It's people from every viewpoint on this. And we are going to talk about the things that the mainstream media and the establishment types like failed Premier Jason Kenney don't want us to talk about. This is for Westerners to decide for themselves. What we can all agree on is whatever is happening within Confederation is not working for any of us. And so if you would like tickets, please go to donegetingscrewed.com. It starts at 8 a.m. Like I said, it is a full day. We've got Ezra, several of the gang from at the Western Standard, Corey Morgan, Derek Fildebrandt, David Parker, his lovely wife, Rachel, Dennis Modry from APP. We've got a media panel. We've got what we call the Separation Showdown, where there's an actual debate between Keith Wilson and I think David Legg, David Legg used to work for the Alberta government. He says there's still fight to be had within Confederation. Keith is like, no, we're out. Keith is pulling the chute. So we also have Dallas Brody. So this isn't just about Albertans and our fraternal twins in Saskatchewan. Dallas Brody is an independent conservative MLA from British Columbia. And our British Columbia friends are going through the same thing we are, where, especially in the interior and the north of British Columbia, where it is much the same sort of industry as we have here in the north, oil and gas and agriculture, in the interior, agriculture and mining. And they are also getting the shaft from the feds. And they have a rising tide of separatism there. I think it's about 1 in 3. This is not a fringe movement. And that's 1 in 3 on paper. That's not 1 in 3 in the coffee shop. I bet it's about 6 out of 10 in the coffee shop right now.
Yeah,
So,
on Coffee Row, this is a burning topic on Coffee Row.
yes.
The most talked about topic on Coffee Row. So we are here to host you, to hear you out, to get you educated, to give you a little bit of information to take back to your home communities. We'd love to see
So
you.
funny.
What?
Okay, this is my favorite. Ezra does a lot of things that I find belovedly cheeky, just charmingly snarky. So if you could see, general admission $49. That's a steal of a deal for a full day symposium with breakfast and lunch. Okay, steal. VIP includes dinner with your favorite rebels and VIP celebrities. I think we just added 2 more surprise ones to the list. I don't want to announce it, but they were in Regina and missed their own thank yous.
Oh,
So if
little
you were in
hint.
Regina, you know who I'm talking about, but go back to that page for a second because I want to show you. If you work for the mainstream media, you got to pay $1,000 to come to our event. You're not getting a free ride. In fact, you're going to pay for it because
That is just the best.
you're subsidized by the government. And so we want a little bit of that back. Thank you very much.
Yeah, perfect. I wonder how many of them will show up.
Oh, there's going to be a few. Because for some of them, money is no object, right? Like I was talking, and the interview will be out today with Chris Sims on the Gun Show. That's my premium show. We were talking about the salaries over at the CBC and how they
So
make
the
more than the prime minister, the new CEO over there, and they absolutely fail at getting the eyeballs or even the mandate that they have to produce Canadian content. And so, yeah, they could pay $1,000. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, they'll just expense it. Those are your dollars. So, yeah, if you see a CBC employee at the symposium in Red Deer, do give them your best regards, Canada. Oh, where did Sheila go? She's frozen. Oh no, she's frozen. Sheila Gunn Reid is frozen. We've lost her there for a second. Well, do let me tell you what kind of show we're going to have for you today. We are going to talk about uh, Saskatchewan and the rising separatist movement within the Sask party voter base. We are going to talk about a judge in BC who who had some pretty hideous things to say about a man who uh who had a relatively modest child porn collection, if that could be such a thing. We have Pierre Poilievre coming up. We're going to be talking about Conservative MP Larry Brock asking Mark Carney about the Arrive scam scandal. We're going to talk about Calgary Mayor Jody Gondek taking questions from our very own Sid Thizard at the Global Energy Show and see what she has to say. I wonder where Sheila went. Where do you think she went, Canada? She just paused in the middle of her sentence and away she went. Let me just check the chat, see if there's any. Oh, everything is frozen. Everything is frozen. Okay. We're going to do a hard reset. Oh, we're going to do a hard reset, Canada. We will be right back. We'll be right back with you. Pardon us. Pardon us for our technical difficulties. We'll be right back.
Hey, what do you think about Alberta independence? What do you think about Alberta trying to get a better deal within Canada? Do you think Alberta should have the right to vote in a referendum to separate, the same way Quebec did? There's a lot of things to talk about. Can Canada be fixed, or has the West tried that, done that, been there, and it's just not working? Well, we're going to talk about all these things in an amazing day-long conference in Red Deer, the heart of Alberta, on Saturday, June 14th. Go to donegettingscrewed.com to get your tickets now. It's going to be a full day. We'll start with a continental breakfast. We'll have panel discussions. We'll have keynote speakers. We'll even have a debate. I think that's going to be the highlight of it. David Legg, former advisor to the Alberta government, is going to make the case for Canada. Keith Wilson, lawyer, freedom activist, he was with the Freedom Convoy. He'll be making the case for independence. We'll have other people in the debates, a media panel, and people of different points of view, including different political parties. There's going to be a bit of a trade show there too. So we'll serve you 2 meals, but more than that, we'll serve you ideas you just can't get anywhere else. But it's coming up quick, and I promise you this event will sell out. There's only room for 1,000 people. And I know that there have been 1,000-person meetings about this subject all over the province. In fact, we had an event in Calgary that sold out in 2 days when we had only 350 seats. So don't be disappointed. Go to donegettingscrewed.com and get your tickets now. I'll be there. Sheila Gunn Reid will be there. So many interesting people. Our friends in other media companies like Western Standard, Juno News, and Counter Signal. It's going to be a great day. That's Saturday, June 14th in Red Deer, Alberta, all day long. Go to donegettingscrewed.com to get your ticket now. Don't wait. I don't want you to be locked out. It's going to be full. See you there. That's donegettingscrewed.com.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA Hats to introduce, well, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.
Okay. Sorry about that, everybody. I don't know what happened there. I don't know how far we got into the show. Did we tell everybody how they can support us here?
We haven't quite got to that point yet, but now would be a perfect time.
Okay, great. We started off not great because maybe we didn't get a countdown. I didn't hear a countdown, and then everything just went bad on my computer. Very, very bad, but things seem to be okay. If you want to support this painfully live show on Rebel News, and you're watching us on Rumble, you can leave us a Rumble rant. That's their pay chat over there. As you know, we'll never take a penny from the Carney Liberals, because how could we rightfully and reasonably hold them to account if we took their money? So we rely on you at home. So if you want to leave us a Rumble rant, if it's over the $5 US cutoff, we are obligating ourselves to read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our very best to get to it. And I promise you, we do. People who are regular chatters, you know, we do our best to get to you, even if it's under that $5 US cutoff, because we know every little bit helps, and we know how important that money is to you too. Likewise, on the censorship platform of YouTube, you could do the same. It's called a super chat. Same rules apply. But also, if you're watching the recorded version of the live stream and you didn't get a chance to chat with us live, but you feel the need to support us, and hopefully you do, you can leave a paid chat. It's called the super thanks. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody, and apologies for the technical difficulties. But boy, I guess you get it now. The show is definitely live. Did we talk about how 40% of Saskatchewan Party voters back a separation referendum?
No, but I just can't wait to, because my beloved Saskies are showing up for the separatist movement in Saskatchewan, and this is no small thing. Okay, yeah. This is no small thing, because on one hand we have the NDP opposition leader Carla Beck basically calling everybody that's even thinking about these things a traitorous Canadian who should be tarred and feathered and not tolerated in polite society, and then along comes my Sask Party supporters, okay? My Sask Party supporters, mostly rural right now.
Yeah.
All of them conservative, and they're saying over 40% of Sask Party supporters back a separation referendum. And this is bad news for Carla Beck, and actually great news for the Sask Party, who should get to work on figuring out how they are going to accommodate the 40% of their supporters who would really like to ask this question. Do we want to stay part of Canada?
What I love about all of this is that this was a leg snare. The NDP, Carla Beck, the leader of the NDP, opened the jaw on this leg trap and then stuck her own stupid leg in it. Because this is a poll done by the NDP. They asked a question because they live in a bubble and think this is just a fringe radical idea. And because they don't talk to normal people because they're NDPers. So they did this polling, and then I don't know why, instead of just saying, we probably shouldn't release the results of this poll, leaked it thinking it would draw outrage about Saskatchewan Party voters. Like, can't you see these Saskatchewan Party voters? They're a bunch of fringe radicals. And everyone's looking at her like, yeah, see, we told you it wasn't a fringe idea.
It's an overwhelmingly popular idea, as a matter of fact.
Just
No, this
insanity. Just the stupidest, one of the stupidest things I've seen in politics in a week.
No, true story. This is one of the stupidest things we've seen, like, in quite some time, because also what it says, this internal polling, or sorry, not internal polling, but secret polling that they then leaked to the media, is that there's a certain part of the NDP supporting population that also supports
Right.
a separation referendum. So what they're saying is, those people are traitors. Those people are, we will never be the 51st state. She's sitting there wagging her finger at all the the dumb hillbilly Saskies that are really giving this question a lot of consideration, when an overwhelming amount of us are saying, yeah, we really want to talk about this, Carla.
Right.
Like,
And
she's shooting herself in the foot and then wondering why she's hobbling.
right. And then like the undecideds, I think, are at 25%. So those are the people who vacillate for some
Right.
ungodly reason between the NDP and the Sask party, because like Alberta, you guys really don't have a Liberal party that exists there provincially.
Mhm.
And even they, like, 1/4 of them are like, yeah, we should at least be allowed to have a referendum, which also shows you the political stupidity of Carla Beck's proposed legislation to block a referendum on Saskatchewan separation.
Uh-huh.
She says
They
this
they
is what she's
proposed this.
doing. They proposed blocking a referendum. And then they call it democracy. So it's like, so you're disenfranchising people, you're not giving them a say, and you say that it's protecting democracy? Okay. And it would even affect your own voters and the undecideds, which are the people you want to bring to your own party.
Mhm.
Not very bright. So the Referendum and Plebiscite Keep Saskatchewan in Canada Amendment Act was proposed after accusations that the Saskatchewan Party had separatist leanings, which the Saskatchewan Party, I don't think itself does. However, the membership obviously does.
Heck yeah, they do. Heck yeah, they do.
Yeah,
In
and
quite staggering numbers, like, truly some of the
right.
highest in the nation, more than Quebec. Uh, Alberta and Saskatchewan are oscillating between who wants a separatist movement more, but the Sask Party cannot deny that its own supporters are seriously looking at this question, saying, "Do we have a future in Canada, and what are the benefits of staying?"
Yeah.
Versus the hope that we can glean from the idea of leaving, and that's something that's been so missing on the prairies over these last 10 years, is just the idea of hope. We have an entire population of people that work in every different sector across the entire um, spectrum, that have been abused by the federal government and see no healthy way out, no, excuse me, no healthy way forward. And the only thing that they see, that's giving them hope right now, is the chance at separation. So that we have 25% of Saskies saying, excuse me, saying, we want to learn more before we make up our minds. Carla Beck, okay, Carla Beck has no good arguments to stay in Canada other than,
Mm.
we won't have bad orange man be our president. That's it. That's all you can give them. Um, I think that if the messaging comes out in an appropriate way, and the people of Saskatchewan understand just how much they have to gain, we're going to see those 25% of undecideds come over to the 40%, and we'll be well over the 60 required to have a referendum, a successful referendum.
Well, and even people who are not separatists or sovereigntists or whatever you want to call them, I know that people also go back and forth between what language they want to use.
Mhm.
But if you want to better deal with the feds within Canada, you got to have an or else on the table.
Yeah,
And
without question. A
this
consequence.
this gives people who want a better deal, no matter where you fall down on the political spectrum, this gives you an or else. Because right now, the feds can basically do whatever they want to us, and the only resolution is to fight it in court the way Premier Smith does. But we also know, and we'll get to that story in a second, the courts are captured by madness.
100%. 100. Our judiciary, our Canadian judiciary, is so corrupted by crazy left-wing extremism, just like every public institution in Canada, that people are no longer seeing the courts as their solution to this.
Yeah. It's crazy.
In the new
Uh,
country,
in the new
Sheila,
country,
when we are in charge of our own judiciary, this craziness
we
won't
will
happen.
elect our judges.
Yes, ma'am, we will. Yes, ma'am, we will.
And we will elect our judges because we need to be able to remove people from the bench when they do crazy things.
Well, when they're activists, activist judges have become a real problem in Canada. As a matter of fact, you don't become a judge unless you're a liberal activist. Like the National Post about a year and a half ago came out with a empirical study about who became judges in Canada,
Yeah.
and the vast, crazy, overwhelming majority of those people were Liberal Party of Canada donors. So you do the math. You donate enough to the Liberal Party of Canada, you're going to become a justice in Canada. And we're wondering how the entire thing was corrupted. We want, let's see. I wonder.
Yeah. I wonder why
It's a
it's
mystery.
fixed against us.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, wouldn't it be great to cast a ballot for the judge in the Lori Vallow case?
Oh,
Wouldn't it be great? For those true crime watchers at home, don't take Elise and I down this tangent, but
we are obsessed. We're just a tiny bit obsessed right now with the trial going on in the United States. However, electing judges is a fantastic idea. It's something that they do in the United States. If you get a judge that goes completely off the rails, there is a mechanism to remove them. Whereas in Canada, these are lifetime appointments. You are a justice for the rest of your career. And no matter, and then that lends itself for these justices to be swayed even more so by the people that put them in that position, because it's like a gratitude exchange for the rest of their career. So yeah, in the new country, we're going to elect our justices and our sheriffs and anybody that's in a position of power, elected. You do the wrong thing, you're gone.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
Speaking of doing the wrong thing, this is from CTV News Vancouver.
Mhm.
This judge in BC.
Speaking
I
of,
I think we got to be careful with the language that we use, because we're on YouTube and they hate this word.
oh,
But no jail time for BC man with relatively modest, I'm going to say, child abuse images collection.
okay.
Judge rules. A BC man convicted of child abuse images has been allowed to serve his sentence in the community, in part because of the relatively modest, imagine saying that about child abuse images,
As if
size
there's
of
such a
his
thing.
collection. One is too many. One has been created through the abuse of a child. And you are now someone who consumes it, creating and ensuring the market for more. Mark Keenan, everybody should know his name, pleaded guilty to possessing and distributing child abuse images in Kelowna court, and he was handed a conditional sentence of 2 years less a day. He'll be under house arrest for the first 18 months of his sentence, then bound by a 6 p.m. curfew for the remainder. They searched his home in 2018 after receiving concerning information about his activity on the social media website Tumblr. Tumblr's a cesspit, by the way.
Yeah.
Which found 6 images on his electronic devices depicting boys between the ages of 9 and 16. In his May 2 sentencing decision, which was posted online, Judge Andrew Tam noted the size of Keenan's collection sets this case apart, does it? From others cited in court, some of which involved hundreds or even thousands of images and videos seized from other sex offenders. So the size of the collection has often been held as an aggravating factor, Tam wrote, so it stands to reason that a modest collection, while not a mitigating factor, could nonetheless distinguish it from other cases. And then it goes on to detail what was in the images. I hope that I'm not even going to talk about it because I don't think it matters.
They're bad. They're just bad. Let's just say they're terrible. Yep.
John Rustad, leader of the Conservative Party of BC, says this judge should be disbarred. If you prey on children in BC, we should send you to prison. Yes.
Agreed. And this piece of news comes out within 24 hours of our federal government saying to us, we are creating a country where everybody should be free to live as they are. Well, that includes, okay, we're including everybody. Okay, we're including everybody. That includes people that have been convicted of child abuse images. Okay, not
Horrible.
everybody should be encouraged to live exactly as they are, and yet our federal government raised a flag yesterday on Parliament Hill and said exactly that thing. Everybody should be allowed to live exactly as they are and have pride
This
in the
guy's
way that
getting
they live.
credit for being caught early, it sounds like.
That's
Because
exactly what happened. Yep,
they
that's
said
exactly
his
what happened.
activity was limited to a few weeks. Now that's all that we know.
Well, and it's also limited by the investigator's ability to follow the bouncing ball of his digital life. Who knows what else was happening in the background, if anything? But there could have been other activity that they missed.
Oh, for sure. There always
So
is.
yeah.
That on the screen there was the judge, the sentencing judge. So I did a little Googling,
Ooh.
as I do. And this is what I wrote this morning. I went through a couple of the judge's other rulings, just
Mm,
very recent ones, not
tell me.
like going back just like a year and a half. The judge who gave relatively modest child abuse images offender house arrest sent a man to jail for lying to the court. So 1 year in jail for disrespecting the court, 0 days in jail for possessing child abuse materials, and a slap on the wrist for another serial predator. Welcome to Canadian justice. So what I said was, in May 2025, Tam sentenced Mark Keenan, who was caught with 6 images of child abuse, to 0 days in jail, citing the relatively modest size of the collection. The same spring, Tam sentenced Troy Alvin Ruck, a man who lied about a family emergency to delay sentencing and then sent inappropriate text to a victim, to 358 days in jail, not for violent crime, not for sex crimes, but for misleading the court. But the most disturbing of Judge Tam's recent rulings might be the case of Taylor Duick, a repeat child abuse offender who is described in court as almost certain to reoffend. Tam acknowledged the danger Duick posed, and yet he got less than 1 year of jail time. So if we scroll down, the Taylor Duick is a man with a long and well-documented history of child abuse offenses. Was on probation when he attempted to assault an 11-year-old girl at a Kelowna equestrian center. This wasn't his first time. In 2014, he served 4.5 years in prison for multiple assaults on teenage girls. In 2022, he served another year for interference. And then if we keep scrolling, I think he was out on release while he was charged again for trying to harm a girl. Yeah, he was out on probation.
Mhm.
So they said that he's got a low IQ, but they also noted that he is almost certain to reoffend.
So this is
Reoffending
your
was-
problem. Canadian public,
reoffending-
this is your problem now. Yeah, he is your problem. Sorry, you're just going to have to deal with it.
Reoffending was, quote, all but inevitable. He only got 2 years for offending while out on probation, while a repeat offender of
Mhm.
multiple offenses. This is what this same judge sentenced him to. But if you disrespect the court by lying to it, and look, I'm not giving anybody's
A free pass.
a free pass on lying to the court, but I feel like these offenses against children should be a lot more strict and more harsh than what you get for lying to the court.
Yeah, yeah, because the potential for harm
Yeah,
is
I
just
put
that
it all
much.
right there. I put it
Yeah.
all there so that you can see.
Yeah.
These are the recent sentences of this one judge. So is it any surprise that he said the things that he said? Probably not.
Probably not. And he's a perfect example. Justice, what is it? Andrew Tam is a perfect
Yeah.
example of the kind of justice that we would vote out in the new country for making terrible, awful decisions and having the entire thing upside down. Because his profession or his workplace is disrespected. He throws a guy in jail for a year, but children who are harmed and traumatized for the rest of their lives watch their abusers walk free to do it again and again and again and again. And the families of these children that were abused by the men that Justice Andrew Tam let free, they are going to have to suffer the ramifications for Justice Andrew Tam's decisions forever.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of why we must have elected justices in the new country.
This family will be re-traumatized by the sentencing.
Oh, without question.
Yeah.
Without question. Victims' rights in
They
Canada,
don't exist.
I mean, they do not exist. So add that to the long list of things that we are going to fix when we get the heck out of this festering crap hole of a country.
Let's on that happy note, let's go hit a quick ad break and then we'll be right back. And before we move into what's happening federally, because excitingly House of Commons is sitting and I'm very excited for the committees to start sitting again. Ezra's on special mission today and he has a quick video update on what he's up to. So let's do the ad break and we'll come back and talk about that.
Okay.
Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. Members get instant access to all of our shows, invitations to exclusive events, and access to our premium content like live event footage and documentaries you won't see anywhere else. Only Rebel News Plus members can join the conversation by participating in the comments section of our new website. That way you can have your say too. More than anything, though, you'll be able to take pride in supporting real, honest journalism, and you'll help our talented team continue to do the work to push back on the establishment. We really can use your help. We need it, in fact. So thank you, and enjoy Rebel News Plus.
Okay, great. Let's go quickly to what Ezra's up to today. He is out of the office and out in the world, I think where he is absolutely best. He is on the case of the Amish families who were hit with Arrive Can, which is still in the news, Arrive Can fines, and then had liens placed against their farm. So let's go to Ezra's video update.
Oh, hi, everybody. Ezra Levant here. I am not in gorgeous Ireland, although it might look like it. I'm actually in Chatsworth, Ontario. I'm not in Irish country. I'm in Amish country with an update on the Canadian government and the Ontario government and their vicious war against the Amish for not downloading the ArriveCan app on their smartphones during the lockdowns. As you may know, the Amish don't use smartphones. They don't use electricity at all. They don't even drive cars. And yet dozens and dozens of Amish were prosecuted and persecuted with liens on their farmhouses because they didn't download Justin Trudeau's spyware. Well, I've got some updates for you. That'll be coming tomorrow. You can follow along at AmishReports.com. It's strange to me. This is a shocking story of abuses, of civil rights violations, and of a fascinating community fighting back in a pacifist way. And yet it's almost being completely ignored by the regime media. Fancy that, eh? I'll have more for you tomorrow at AmishReports.com.
Yeah, thank God that we were able to convince them to even fight back because they're pacifist by nature. They don't even vote. They don't have rubber tires. My mom grew up in Amish country. My mom was a transplanted Ontarian. She hitchhiked to freedom in the golden age of the serial killers because that's how bad she wanted to be an Albertan and not from Ontario. And anyways, well, we would go back every single summer to visit my cousins, my mom's family farm, and the Amish family was right next door. And so I'm pretty familiar with them. And then being in Alberta, our Anabaptist friends and neighbors are the Hutterites. And, it was very difficult to get the Amish to fight back. But what happened to them was such an injustice. They
Yes.
didn't download an app on a cell phone. They don't have an app, which, by the way, didn't work, sent 10,000 people erroneously to quarantine, and was part of a big scam by GC Strategies anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably one of the greatest and most egregious overreaches of the terrible times of COVID that we have in Canada. Like really, really, these people were abused by the government. And
Yeah,
here, Rebel News is the only media outlet in Canada telling their story. And it is such an important story. These, like you said, Sheila, these people are pacifists. They, if you were to Ezra likes to say, if you were to smack one, and I don't recommend that you
don't
do,
smack,
that
don't smack the Amish.
don't smack the Amish. But if you were to, they are so pacifist that they would not hit you back. This is
Right,
their culture. Their culture is to decline to fight, okay, in
right.
every single way. So that Rebel News is doing this important work, that you are standing up for neighbors whose nature is not to stand up for themselves, really in the face of unforgivable federal overreach
Yeah,
is incredible. So I can't wait to see that report. I can't,
yeah,
and I love the Amish and the Hutterites. So there's
me
that. Like
too.
I'm obsessed. I'm a
Me
tiny
too.
bit obsessed.
Yep, yep. Speaking of which, I should go up to the colony later on today. But yeah, I mean, they quarantine by nature. They keep to themselves. They have their own schools, their own language. They they weren't when they came home from visiting family in Pennsylvania, they weren't going to go anywhere. They were going to go back to the
Mhm.
farm. So even if they had been sick, which they weren't sick, none of them got sick, according to them, they weren't a danger to anybody anyway. But
Right.
the government had to make sure that everybody followed the stupid thing that didn't work anyway, and that was the quarantine restrictions.
Yeah, I can't wait for that report, truly.
Yeah, and Ezra is right by hanging some of the blame for this on Doug Ford, because in Alberta, if you came home and you're like, I'm not quarantining, they didn't fine you.
Right.
We just didn't bother. So this is on Doug Ford too. Like Doug Ford could talk to his good buddy Mark Carney and his good buddy Christia and have like lobby for these innocent victims of government overreach, but he's done nothing, not a peep. It's like they don't even count.
Well, they typically don't vote. So to a politician, these would be worthless humans. Like truly, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But
Nothing
it's
lost or
those
gained yet.
it's those most sort of vulnerable. It's the most vulnerable that you should care about,
Yeah.
that you should want to protect. And so I mean, it's not a surprise that Doug Ford would not get involved. I mean, he
Yeah.
he tends not to unless it's politically advantageous,
Right.
should we say? Yeah.
You wouldn't want to do the right thing just because doing the right thing is the right thing to do. Let's watch this clip from Pierre Poilievre. He's slamming the Liberals for letting immigration, quote, grow out of control.
Think of the border security bill that was tabled last week, Bill C2. You haven't offered your views on it. Can you give us?
Well, we support a stronger border. We want severe limits on population growth to reverse the damage the Liberals did to our system. The population has been growing out of control. Our borders have been left wide open. This has caused the free flow of drugs, human trafficking, illegal migration, and much worse. And that is why we want a stronger border. We want to crack down on abuses in the immigration system. and we want to ensure that that any frauds in the refugee system are reversed. Those are the things we're looking at, but we're also going to study the bill carefully to make sure that, you know, long-standing Canadians who are following the law are not having their rights and freedoms violated.
Okay, where was this guy in the lead up to the election? Where was this guy talking about population has been growing out of control and illegal immigration in the lead up to the election? Where was that, Pierre Poilievre? Like,
Well,
this is great. I'm really delighted that he's taking on Bill C2 because it is such a damaging, gross, humongous, hulking piece of overreach by the Liberal government. But where was this guy in the lead up to the election? We were all talking about it. How come he wasn't?
here's my concern. I'm very worried about what they're going to use Bill C2 to do, because there are a
Yes.
lot of things buried in that bill that have nothing to do with enhanced border
Yes.
security. For example, Michael Geist, who was so strong on the internet freedom stuff, Bill C11, C18, Online Harms Act, says that buried in the new border bill, which they say is supposed to ease our tensions with the Americans, are lawful access provisions that have nothing to do with the border. They raise the prospect of warrantless access to information about internet subscribers. They establish new global production orders of subscriber information and envision new levels of access to data held by electronic service providers. So what they do is they want lawful access to your phone, maybe Rebel News, say Ezra's crossing the border. We want to see who's subscribed to Rebel News Plus or to our Rebel News YouTube. What has this got to do with drug trafficking and gun trafficking?
Yep. No, what it sounds like they've done is move elements of the much despised online harms bill that died on the vine last year ahead of the federal election and just moved it to this new Bill C2, which makes it even more dangerous. Like, these huge hulking pieces of legislation that are already overly complex, and then adding things to it that would infringe on your right to privacy, Canada. Like, this is what the Liberals are trying to do, is take elements of the online harms bill and add them to this. And this will not end well for Canadians. It just won't.
Also, it's a direct attack on cash itself. So
Oh,
Bill
yes.
C2s, this is part of, we've launched a Rebel News campaign on this. But Bill C2's amendments to the Proceeds of Crime or the money laundering and terrorism financing act means that reporting entities, so that's banks, will have to be enrolled with the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Center of Canada. That's FinTrack. That's the ones that froze the bank accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll face much higher penalties for non-compliance. And there's a prohibition on any person or entity, including charities, on receiving payments in cash of $10,000 or more
This is
for
wild.
business purposes, or in the case of charities, as a donation, unless you have an exemption.
This is wild. This is truly wild, because in the lead up to the federal election, we sort of discovered that one of Mark Carney's pet projects was a central digital currency, and what they're doing here basically is outlawing cash. So, Canada, you won't be allowed to go to an auction and buy a truck and pay cash for it, because if the
Right.
police catch you with that cash on the way to the auction, they can just assume that it is the proceeds of a criminal act and charge you as such. And there is nothing stopping them. So right now it's $10,000. Right now it's $10,000, which is a lot of money. I don't know how many of us are carrying around 10 grand in cash, but who knows? You might need to for whatever reason. But there's nothing stopping the Liberals. Okay, if this bill is passed in its current iteration, there's nothing stopping them from taking that down from 10,000 to 5,000 to 500 to $100. And this is a mechanism of control. This is what this is. cash is king because it is largely private. It's nobody's business what you spend your money on, and yet
Yeah.
the government dearly wants to know what you're
Right.
spending your money on, because if you step it, this is just this. If you follow the conspiracy theory bouncing ball,
Yeah.
this is a way for the government to instill all sorts of social credit schemes.
Oh,
You
this is
step
the
out of
central
line,
bank digital currency. And with the central
100%.
bank digital currency, they could just turn it off on you
Oh,
if
you
you've
did the wrong
maybe
thing? If you think
donated
the
to a
wrong thought,
trucker.
that's right. If you think the wrong thoughts, if you do the wrong things, if you have unpopular beliefs, if you go astray of the approved narrative, they can shut off your money.
Right.
I mean, this is craziness. This is
Yeah.
craziness.
If you want to sign our petition, go to don'tkillcash.com. Ezra breaks it all down there. But this is crazy. And as he points out, it's got nothing to do with criminals. This applies to business, doing business. The language of the law says doing business. So that's doctors, lawyers, dentists, other professions, buying a used piece of farm equipment because you sold
Yes.
something and
Yes.
now you're going to the auction, skipping down to the auction to get a new farm implement, and there's enforcement on the other side. So if the banks, credit unions, farm auctions, whatever, say, well, we don't want to comply with this. This is not your business. This isn't even our business. Because this is about doing business and not committing crimes. Like there are provisions in the law for dealing with crime, right?
Yes.
Money
Yes.
with money laundering and things like that. This has to do with business. If the person you're doing business with, the bank, the whatever, says we're not telling the government this, like think smaller credit unions,
Yep.
they will be absolutely destroyed by the federal government.
This is wild. Like,
They're
just
making sure
crazy.
there's no safe place for you and your money from the government.
This is crazy wild overreach, Canada. This is crazy, and it takes us again, like, not to be the purveyors of the slippery slope argument, but this is
Man
the slippery
alive.
slope that we do
Yep.
not want to deal with. No, the repercussions of passing a bill such as this would have devastating and wildly inappropriate consequences to the people of Canada. You will have no privacy. You will not be able to spend your cash. The government will be in every facet of your life, and then when you step out of line, well, no groceries for you.
Right. And don't think they won't do it. They did it to you if you gave some money to a trucker in 2022.
That's right.
Now they're just codifying it into law.
Crazy. It's insane.
And also, I thought something pretty sinister there about charities, right? Why do you care if you're giving cash to a charity? Here's what I care about. There are plenty of charities right now that are getting money from the Canadian government, from people and they're linked with radical Islamism.
Yes.
They should not be charities. Deal with that. But don't come after somebody's grandma who wants to give $11,000 to the St. Vincent de Paul Society because they help women leaving domestic violence get a safe place and a start with their children.
Or that's just the thing. It's a disproportionate response on people of faith too. Like,
Sure
this is
it is.
attack on people of faith. Of course it is. Who ever thought that Canada could turn into this sort of authoritarian hellscape? But here we are.
I think Stephen Harper told us, he warned us. We listened. The rest of you didn't. Let's move ahead. Poilievre going after the Carney Liberals on the Arrive scandal. And it's grown beyond Arrive scam. It's GC strategies in general. They're $94 million in federal government contracts across all agencies without proper tendering, broken down into small pieces so they could get around the tender rules, and many of them done without security clearance and working on sensitive files like business with the Department of Defense. So let's watch this.
Today's Auditor General's report, which I have today in my hands, today's Auditor General's reports, I should say, are a chronicle of Liberal incompetence and an orgy of liberal waste. We have here GC Strategies. The company the Liberals gave over 100 separate contracts from 31 different departments, which is under RCMP investigation. The contracts were for IT, even though GC Strategies does not actually do IT work. We all remember this is the same contractor that did the unnecessary and useless COVID app that was way over budget and could have been completed for a fraction of the cost. We now know that in other contracts, the government overpaid. They often didn't even check what the market rate was for the services that they were buying. Quote, actions of the federal government frequently did not demonstrate value for money. Federal government made payments without evidence that all the deliverables were received. Translation, they paid even when they didn't see that the job was done. So 46% of the contracts examined, there was no evidence that the work was completed, and yet the government paid for it. It'd be like if you walked into a restaurant, you were never served a meal, but you paid the bill anyway and added a big tip and sent off the bill to the taxpayer. That's what Liberals have done with your money in this case. So now, who's responsible? Well, Public Safety Minister LeBlanc was at the time, Public Safety Minister who helped get these contracts out. Now he's been promoted in the Liberal government. You've got Patty Hajdu, who was the Health Minister that kicked off the ArriveCan app. She as well has been promoted. And then you've got F-35s. Liberal mismanagement of the process has now driven up costs by 50% or $9 billion. The infrastructure delays are going to mean we need 2 fighter squadrons slated for completion in 2031, more than 3 years late, forcing extra spending on interim facilities. They haven't recruited enough pilots to fill the gap. They've got weak project management, risk management, and coordination plans remain incomplete and slow. And the bottom line is that rising costs, construction delays, staffing gaps, weak oversight threaten the ongoing introduction of the fighter jets. And who was responsible for that? Well, Anita Anand was one of the defense ministers who helped bring about this boondoggle. She has been promoted in this government. So in all of these cases, you have promotions for those who caused the problem. Now, finally, you've got federal land for housing. In the middle of the worst housing crisis in the world, the government has failed to live up to its promise to sell off federal land and buildings for housing. They said in 2017, half of their buildings and land were underused or vacant, and yet only 2% of it has been disposed of for homes. They've built only 309 homes, 90% short of the 4,000 they promised. It takes them 8 years to sell a property, 8 years. You've got $3.9 billion we could be bringing in over the next decade if we sold off these buildings and avoided having the operational costs of them. And the fact that they've missed these targets means that there are countless young people who can't afford homes, single mothers who pay higher rent, seniors choosing between eating and heating because the cost of housing is out of control. Again, the housing minister who caused this disaster has now been promoted to Liberal Minister of Justice. So it is the same Liberal ministers, the same Liberal gang, making the same Liberal mistakes that cost Canadians a fortune. And that is why we are calling for accountability. We're calling on the government to get our money back. They need to go to GC Strategies and get our money back so taxpayers can be made whole. We must ensure our government spends money wisely to protect the taxpayers, to make sure this is a country where hard work pays off with a great life in a beautiful home on a safe street.
Okay, well, I just want to nominate orgy of liberal waste as as the sentence of the month from Pierre Poilievre. This is the Pierre Poilievre I love. This is the one pointing out that there are no consequences for gross, absolutely gross and unforgivable incompetence. There are none. The people that are responsible for this disgusting cavalcade of mismanagement have been promoted. There's no
There's
accountability.
not a single head has rolled, not even in the bureaucracy.
It is wild to point this out. Like, it is what, and this is what 10 years of liberal corruption will do. Where they only work within their own little validation circles and they only have to appease each other, where they're not accountable to the taxpayer, where they're not accountable to the electorate. But here's the most stunning thing. There's also no mechanism to get rid of them.
Yep.
There's just not in Canada. And so what are we going to do about it, Sheila Gunn Reid? What are we going to do about it?
That's the thing. Like, just think about this. When you're paying your taxes, when you're getting a phone call from the CRA saying they want more, or they're going to charge you like loan shark levels of interest, that you can have $100 million scam in the federal government, and everybody just says,
meh. That's
So
what happened.
unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
just unbelievable. People
Yeah.
are struggling to pay what they owe to the federal government, and this is what the federal government does with their money.
Mhm.
And then
Yep.
treats you like a criminal if you can't pay it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You know what I mean? Like, they treat people struggling to cover their taxes for this waste like they're the criminal.
Oh,
While the
struggling to
criminals walk
Yeah.
free.
struggling to pay their housing costs, like skyrocketing housing costs, struggling to buy regular groceries, struggling to fill their gas tanks. And
Yeah.
then they do this. And then guess what happens? Because the Liberals are still in power. Absolutely nothing. It's really soul crushing. Like, it really
is.
is soul crushing. Yeah.
Speaking of soul crushing, Eastern Canada, you took this away from me, and I will find it in my heart one day perhaps to forgive you in the new country. But you took this away from me. You took Larry Brock as the AG, as the Justice Minister. You took him from me, and for that I am disgruntled. I have no gruntles. You've taken my gruntles from me. Let's watch Larry Brock ask Prime Minister Mark Carney in the House of Commons about Arrive scam. Unforgivable.
Mr. Speaker, shockingly, the very same Liberal ministers who had their fingerprints all over the Arrive scam are still in cabinet today. Right. Namely, the Jobs Minister, the U.S. Trade Minister, and his Foreign Affairs Minister. Their lack of ministerial responsibility is both negligent and inexcusable. The fraudulent payment of $64 million isn't just about reckless spending. It's a total waste of taxpayer dollars and a betrayal of Canadians who are living through a cost of living crisis. So I ask the Prime Minister again, when will taxpayers get their money back?
That's a good question.
That's a good
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to commend the members opposite for supporting the Making Life More Affordable Act to get taxpayer dollars back to
What the F
Canadians
does that have to do with anything?
and commit.
What is with this pocket
This
thing, too?
government is
Yeah.
committed.
Yeah.
This new government is committed to making the best use of all taxpayers' dollars.
The best use.
What a disgraceful question. Does he have a kidney stone? Why is he doing this?
The performative doing up the suit jacket, striking a pose. He's the new Justin Trudeau, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just a performative prime minister. But yeah, you
But
didn't
less
answer.
amusing. I found at least Justin Trudeau amusing in his stupidity. It's boring stupidity, which is the worst kind because there's no entertainment value in any of this. Look at,
And
he goes as to
yeah, look at
clutch
this,
his
look at
kidney
this.
stone.
He looks like a Sears catalog model right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the guy, and he didn't answer the question. Again, he didn't answer the question. The question was, how are you going to get the money back from the Canadian taxpayer that your government squandered, the people in your cabinet squandered? How are you going to get the money back? And he goes on to say, we have this new thing that we're going to thank you so much for supporting our new thing.
Yeah.
We do not support your new thing. Okay. If those people are still sitting there and not in jail, not in jail, which is where they should be for the amount of gross incompetence. Because let's not forget, they let this happen while they were all sitting at home drinking wine in the afternoon on Zooms. Okay, that's how this all happened. That's all how this all happened. No consequences, none whatsoever from Mark Carney.
And
Just
the
maddening.
worst part is Larry Brock is saying, you have no respect for the taxpayer.
Called it a betrayal. Perfect.
He says, you've betrayed the taxpayer because there have been no heads rolling around. And he stands up and says something completely disrespectful to the taxpayer. Carney's not taking this seriously. It's an absolute joke. And if this were a different country, there would be people in jail for this.
Well, sure. But you know, when you're as rich as the Liberal caucus, the federal government of Canada, what's a couple tens of millions of dollars amongst billionaires? What's that? It's nothing. It's hardly anything. I mean, really, when you're dealing with staggering levels of swindling, just staggering.
Swindling.
The swindle, it's a great word, isn't it? $250 million on the Green Slush Fund, $64 million on GC strategies. Like, when you add these all up, these numbers become pointless to these billionaires and these billionaire enablers. So, you know, screw you Canadians, screw you trying to buy groceries and pay your bills. We're just going to throw your money around like it's of no consequence. We're just going to keep doing that.
Imagine
That's what the
being
Liberals say.
Jean Chrétien and having had your legacy destroyed by the sponsorship scandal, looking at these guys from your crypt,
like a whole
thinking, how the hell are they getting away with it?
Yes. Yeah. It's just this culture. It's a culture of unaccountability. That's what the Liberal Party of Canada is. They have bred a culture of unaccountability.
I think if they just don't take it seriously.
Imagine being Bev Oda. Imagine being Bev Oda with her $16 glass of orange juice at a fancy hotel. And watching her whole career go up in flames because she expensed a $16 glass of orange juice. And now we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars squandered into the wind forever. And nobody does a single thing to stop it.
The difference between that sassy Bev Oda, who I always thought was real cool, just a little Japanese lady chain smoking outside the House of Commons. I thought there's a picture of her in sunglasses, just chain smoking.
Legend.
Japanese lady. I thought, you know, good for her. Good for her. But her crime was being conservative, in that it was the conservatives were like, Bev Oda, we just pounced on her for her $16 orange juice. And
look at her.
Okay. We could have had Bev Oda. Okay. Bev Oda. These are the things that were taken from me.
Yeah. Bev Oda might be my spirit animal. When I see that photo, I'm like, wow, I just want to be her.
I've seen you look exactly like that, actually.
It's just sunglasses. Got
with
my
the dart hanging out.
You know it, just like that.
That's
just like
you.
that. Me and Bev Oda, just style icons.
That's you rolling into the Rebel News town hall on Saturday. Just a dart gently dangling off your lip. But it was conservatives who got rid of Bev Oda because we were outraged. It's the Liberals who are just letting this stuff go on with the Liberal Party because they just are tribalist apologists for every single manner of corruption as long as it's done by their team.
I just hate it so much. In the new country, this won't happen. It won't be allowed to happen. There will be severe and instantaneous consequences if it happens. So can't wait to clean up this mess in the new country.
You know what? I insist that our politicians smoke in the new country. And I say this as a non-smoker.
You have to be a badass. You have to be a badass.
We've got Brendan Leslie, who has been really great on a lot of files leading up to this. I think he's going to be a rising star. Hammering Carney's environment minister, Julie Drebusen, on the plastics ban, which was challenged in court by Alberta, which was struck down in court by Alberta, but we continue to suffer with bans on sterile, reusable plastic. Anyways, he asked her about it. Let's watch.
Does the minister still support the unconstitutional ban on single-use plastics?
Minister of the Environment.
Mr. Chair,
There are certain single-use plastics that have been listed in a regulation, and that is something that absolutely we stand by as we look to the world moving in that.
Does the minister
It's been struck down as unconstitutional. You could back off it by saying, look, we tried, we think it's the right thing, but the court has struck it down. Instead, the federal government continues to violate the law by imposing a plastics ban that was struck down as unconstitutional.
And here's a perfect example of the Liberals using these humongous worldly institutions as their permission to do bad things to Canadians. That what she actually said there was, we are looking at the way that the world is moving, and we are considering, what the world wants. Where our fancy friends in the climate what our fancy friends at climate conferences say more than the rights of Canadians. That is what they're prioritizing, the fancy climate people's opinions over the opinions of the Canadians that elected them. That's what they've done here. Perfect example of that. Thank you. So wild.
And I guess the same could be said about the net zero pursuit of the federal government. Canadians don't want it. We don't want our electricity to be even more expensive and unreliable than it is, particularly if you're in Alberta. We have the threats of brownouts thanks to the NDP colluding with the Trudeau Liberals to get us off coal.
When it's minus 45, mind you. When it's minus 45, yes. Life-threatening brownouts.
Life-threatening brownouts. Where we get told, think about that. We are the Saudi Arabia of coal here. It literally just comes out of the ground. We have more than you guys. We have oil, we have natural gas, and we can't use our coal thanks to the NDP government here in Alberta, formerly, colluding with the Trudeau Liberals to get us off coal. And now this place that is rich in fossil fuels, we have just a blessing of riches, and we don't have enough electricity in the winter. Okay? Go ahead.
It's egregious. I mean, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable that a province as rich in natural resources as Alberta is, experiences power and electricity shutdowns in the middle of a Canadian winter. It is craziness. But it does beg the question, why would they let this happen? Why would they let this happen? And the worst case scenario,
because the UN and the World Economic Forum, we're doing this to impress those people.
That's right, because we're paying attention to what the fancy climate people want more than the needs of Albertans want. It is insane. But really, if you just look down the line, the absolute worst thing that could happen is a 5-day outage of energy in Alberta during one of these deep freezes. That would be, it would just be staggering losses, unlike anything Canada's ever seen. And yet this was allowed to happen under the former NDP government of Alberta.
And it continues under Mark Carney, because they are not backing off these net zero targets on vehicles, on electricity. They don't care how Canadians suffer as long as it makes the World Economic Forum people happy. And you know who makes more sense on this than just about any federal politician in government right now? The OPEC Secretary General. The Global Energy Show is taking place in Calgary right now. OPEC is there, and he said the net zero targets of Mark Carney and before him Justin Trudeau are completely detached from reality.
Amen.
And it's true. I'm not one to side with OPEC, the price fixers down at OPEC, but some things remain true no matter who says it. And it is true. It doesn't make any sense to tell a place with the third largest proven oil reserves on the planet. That's proven. It could be higher with the non-proven reserves. We have got 800 years of some of the cleanest burning coal on the face of the earth under our feet. Gas that hell wouldn't have. It's coming out of the ground. And yet we have big thinkers in Ottawa saying, no, you guys, we're not allowed to use any of that. And OPEC is like, that's madness. We would never do that.
It is truly madness. It is truly madness to import luxury beliefs from places on the equator. You know, think
Right,
of
right.
you know what I mean? These are countries that are on the equator that don't have to think about 8 months of winter like people on the prairies and in Canada have to do. You know, everything outside of BC, the farthest left coast of BC, everybody else has to worry about winter in Canada. And yet we're importing these luxury beliefs of people that live on the equator that don't have to worry about freezing to death in the winter. It is madness. It is madness. And props to the OPEC guy. I mean, props to
Yeah.
the OPEC guy. Thanks for saying that.
And you know what?
Thanks for caring that we live.
Thanks, OPEC dude, for getting the issue better than our own prime minister.
Yes.
And that it takes a special kind of moxie that might only come from someone in
with OPEC money. Yeah.
With OPEC money and OPEC dictatorship backing.
Yeah.
Or you could be Donald Trump. To say those sorts of things in the place that's doing it, right? Like for the time being, Alberta's still in Canada. And so you come to the Global Energy Show in Canada and you tell the Canadians, you guys are losing your marbles. Like you have to have OPEC money and be from a dictatorship to say things like that, to have the moxie to say those things.
But good for him. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. OPEC buddies. It's nice of you to think of us more than our actual federal government.
Yeah, isn't it weird that the people who would have Venezuela in their club are making more sense than Mark Carney on the issue of energy security?
Fancy that. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, by the way, Sid Fizzard is ripping it up at the Global Energy Show.
He's such a good boy.
He actually got Calgary Mayor Jyoti Gondak to take some questions at the Global Energy Show, which, I mean, I can't even believe she's showing her face there, considering between her and Ottawa, they have I forget which one is worse, although it doesn't even matter because they're so outrageous. I think it's $80 billion committed to a municipal climate change plan.
Mayor of Calgary. Calgary, the energy capital of the country. Yeah. And she is committed to the environmentalist cause.
Let's hear what she has to say. She always looks awful, like she never got enough sleep, by the way.
Now that there's going to be an election in Calgary later this year and there are municipal parties, are you concerned that might affect your chances as an independent?
I've always been very clear on municipal parties. I don't believe that parties have a role to play in municipal politics. I think local representation should be independent. You speak on behalf of your people. You shouldn't be whipped by someone telling you how to vote.
And how would you say the state is of the climate emergency we've been dealing with, as you said, in the beginning of your term in office?
Well, you probably heard all of the speakers talking about the fact that we need to pay attention to many things at the same time.
And are you concerned about further and expanded development of oil resources?
I think this is an amazing opportunity for you to listen to the leaders that are here within the energy sector talking about what we need to do for our future.
Have you noticed a palpable change in the economy here in Alberta regarding natural resources with our new Prime Minister?
I think we've always had great strength, and I appreciate that the federal government is recognizing that finally.
Now that
she didn't answer a single question.
Sid, just rapid fire, just
boom,
peppering
boom, boom, boom.
her. Yo, beautiful job, Sid.
It's $87 billion, by the way, that she has committed the city of Calgary to fighting climate change, which I think Ottawa might be $90 billion. And she declared a climate emergency in Calgary.
Now,
so I don't know why she's there.
Do recall that it was at this time, exactly this time last year, that Jyoti Gondak let almost the entire city of Calgary go without drinking water because she ignored the infrastructure issues in her own city until it became untenable. One of them failed, and then nobody had water in the summertime, and yet she has over $80 billion to spend on climate initiatives. How about you just stay in your lane, Gondak? How about that? How did
Yeah.
Calgary elect this fool? Like, how did that actually happen? She doesn't like party. She doesn't like party. Oh, I wonder how she whipped them votes. That's a mystery, Jody
Yeah.
Gondek.
She it's quite something that she doesn't want municipal parties. I see like the Calgary Climate Hub, which is a municipally funded organization, says it's not going to cost 87 billion today.
Right.
It's just supposed to cost that much over the lifespan of this program, which is like 15 years or something. And they went after one of the few conservatives on council, Dan McLean. But of course, she doesn't want parties on the ballot because parties have defined views. I'm a fan of municipal parties because I think you should be able to know if you're voting for a conservative, a liberal, or a socialist.
Yes. Yes. Because
at
it
the
is so
door.
easy. It is so easy for these people to obfuscate around any pressing
Bingo.
question that you have, just like we saw Sid do right there. But imagine the city Calgary could be in 15 years with 80 plus billion dollars pouring in for infrastructure, for public works, for for services and areas and schools. And I mean, imagine the city Calgary would be with an extra $80 billion. Instead, this money is being funneled to their friends in environmental NGOs. Well done. Well done.
Yeah. 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 And it's been like that since Naheed Nenshi, the NDP leader, provincially now, was in office there. And it's funny because Naheed Nenshi, he always sort of would dance around his own politics. He would sort of paint himself to be a fiscal conservative and then want to spend $9 billion on getting a legacy Olympics.
Yes.
Or he would be cozy with Trudeau, but also, sort of make nice with Rachel Notley. But everybody knew he was an NDPer. And yeah, I appreciate the honesty now that at least he's the NDP leader.
Right.
But I think a lot of Calgary voters would have liked to have known that he was a socialist kookaloo.
Yes.
Years ago.
Yep.
He never. But I just feel it is so. It's not transparent. That's why I like municipal parties. They will have a platform to run on. You can run a slate of councillors on the same platform. I love it. I think it's great.
And I think conservative candidates must adopt a party platform in municipal politics going forward. So the people know exactly who they're getting and exactly what those people stand for. Because we've seen the shell game that municipal politicians have been able to skate by on. Jody Gondek, Naheed Nenshi being two of the most famous, saying one thing, doing entirely the other, and never being called out on it. So at least if there was a party behind him, we could know ahead of casting a vote for these people.
Yep. I just want to touch on one thing. Susan Holt. Remember we watched her election?
Revolting is what she is.
Yeah, because she immediately, one of her first things she did was remove legislation that protected parents' rights. She might actually get these tariffs dropped. Why? Because she's a liberal darling. Because she stole her province back from the clutches of the Conservatives in New Brunswick. Holt says Canada should consider removing stiff tariffs on China because it's punishing Canadian seafood. And she might actually get it done because they're going to listen to her because she's a liberal, because those same retaliatory tariffs from China are hammering Canadian canola and pork products.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if the tariffs are removed on East Coast seafood and not removed on Western Canadian canola, you will see an uptick on that separatist sentiment so fast your head will spin. Okay, because we're identifying that this is a real problem with the liberal party darlings getting their way and then just still ignoring the prairies. Like, we're just identifying this as a big, huge problem. So if the tariffs are removed on seafood, they better be removed on Western Canadian canola as well, or
Well,
else.
here's my problem with this is I think if China removes the tariffs on seafood and canola, and I'll just go back a little to explain why we have tariffs on seafood, pork products, and canola from China. Like China is tariffing us, that China
Mhm.
isn't giving us the canola. China is tariffing Canadian products, these
Right.
3 Canadian products. It's in response to Justin Trudeau slapping a 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles to
Yes.
protect the Canadian-made electric vehicle market, which is heavily subsidized and imploding like a dying star right now. And so all these Western Canadian farmers and the seafood producers were sacrificed on the altar of the World Economic Forum and net zero to the benefit of Doug Ford to get some
That's right.
heavily subsidized jobs. And so that's why Doug Ford, his lips are chapped from kissing liberal bums. And now,
Gross.
yeah, right. But if these tariffs, so Canada would have to remove the electric vehicle tariffs to get China to drop theirs. If Susan Holt says, pretty please, Liberals, drop these tariffs so that all the other tariffs are removed, and it happens, I don't think you're going to see Western Canadian producers happy anyway, because we've been begging the feds to stop their retaliatory tariffs because it is hammering Western Canadian markets. The only time the Liberals listen is when their little friend Susan Holt speaks up and they say, okay, well, we'll protect your fishery.
Yeah, yeah. No, we're screwed. Western Canadians are just, I think, alarming at an alarming rate, just acknowledging that we are screwed if we do, and we are screwed if we don't. And we are done getting screwed.com.
.com. Let's hit the Daily Cringe because we're
Okay.
at 22 minutes after the hour. Let's see if we can get through these 3 in 8 minutes. Okay, first Daily Cringe. And it's not so much a cringe as a celebration of the suffering of the people who make me cringe so frequently. And that is from CP24. Pride Toronto faces a $900,000 shortfall after major sponsors pull out. Who will dance naked in front of the little children now? Who?
Without all of that Home Depot and Google money, who will do
Exactly.
that? Who will do that? We touched on this real briefly last week, Sheila, while you were gone to the UK.
Okay.
And I just want to congratulate again Home Depot Canada and Google for pulling out of their sponsorship of Pride Toronto this year. But then, their major sponsors walk away because it doesn't align with the values of their brands, right? The guys that are buying miter saws and plywood at Home Depot don't turn
Right.
around and go to a pride parade. So weird that Home Depot would back out of this. It's a losing proposition. Well, along comes Olivia Chow. Okay, Olivia Chow has got taxpayer funds that are going to make up for the shortfall in funding that Toronto Pride found itself in. But I think that this is a snapshot of future years where more and more corporate sponsors just go, right, this just doesn't make sense for us, because it doesn't. Okay,
Right.
because it doesn't. This was a cultural moment that got away from all of us, and now it's over. The end.
Yes, thank you. And the who is it? The Pride Toronto spokesperson? I forget his name. Let me see if I can find it. Not, you know what? I don't care. But anyway, he said basically he blames Trump. He said, we believe that there's a direct connection between the policies that we're seeing coming out of the White House, I don't know what that is, and the organizations that are pulling out. When you look at some of the policies and statements that some US CEOs have made, they're directly attacking the two SLGBTQIA, just rolls right off the tongue, community. No, you're not entitled to their money. Do you get that? You're not entitled to anything. And if you want to have your little hedonist party where you dance mostly naked in front of frightened children because their politically motivated parents see their children as just a prop, an accessory, a handbag to their political uniform, That's fine. You can pay for it yourself.
Yep. Good luck. Good luck paying it for yourself. The more corporate sponsors that we see back away from these sorts of pride initiatives, the better, and the better society will be. And thanks to Home Depot and Google for backing out. It's just awesome.
We've got Greta
Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg. This is her, I guess, post-kidnapping. Is this it? Is this post-abduction? This is her post-abduction. Let's watch this. Get her.
Okay, can we stop? I don't want to listen to it anymore.
Post-kidnapping. Post-kidnapping. She was kidnapped by the IDF, according to her. Look at her.
Doesn't she look so traumatized? Like, never has a petulant child grown into such an intolerable woman. Look at her. Look at her. It looks like
years old.
It looks like she just won Miss America with the amount of flowers and gifts she just got there. And yet she would tell you that she's been kidnapped and abused by the IDF.
They gave her a sandwich. You know what? I also, when they deported her, right? Like, she's the first kidnapped victim who's ever been sent home as part of her kidnapping. Usually they keep you, right? Like, that's what happens in a kidnapping. You are taken from your home and then absconded to somewhere else. They're like, you got to go home. That's not kidnapping.
I hope they put her on a jet. Like, I hope they burned fossil fuels getting her back there. That would be amazing.
Hundo P, buddy. The pilot of the plane that sent her back, maybe we can dig it up. He did a speech on the intercom, knowing full well you're transporting this little goblin back to wherever she came from, and thanked the IDF and their security forces for keeping everybody safe.
Incredible hero of the day, that pilot. I mean, that is actually incredible. Like, what a boss move. Like,
it was
just
great.
Based.
I didn't give the team in Toronto time enough to find it. Oh, here it is. It was an LL flight.
That's
when her plane landed, thanked the brave IDF soldiers and prayers for the real hostages. Okay, let's maybe we'll hear it. He says it in English so that she can hear it.
To thank our security forces and the IDF for protecting and defending our homeland, and we want to wish the swift return of all hostages. To thank our
She's the best. Like, just roasts her in her own seat. While she's sitting there squirming, because what did she take? Some carbon fiber solar powered wind sailboat, sort of hydrofoil or something over there, because she can't use fossil fuels, right? Like, she's completely against using fossil fuels. So to, like, pack her up, they put her in a terrible seat, by the way. Did you see that? Like, they put her in the back of the plane where your seat can't recline, like right against the bathrooms, so you're interrupted by every single person on that plane who has to get up to go to the washroom. Just beautiful. Like, absolutely beautiful. Nothing but the best for Greta. Nothing but the best.
Anyways, I hope she learns the meaning of the word kidnapping, because when they send you home, that's not a kidnapping.
No,
that's called a round trip.
Invited her to go home at her earliest convenience. No, it's
after
perfect.
giving you a meal. Next one is yours on the Daily Cringe from Sask Sport, because hunker down for a full season of this nonsense, because this is the time of the year.
Okay, well, Sask Sport. I've got a little bee in my bonnet over a thing that Sask Sport released yesterday. They to celebrate Pride Month, because this is something that we all must celebrate, especially public institutions. They released this thing. This says creating an inclusive space for positive sport experiences. No matter what role we play in sport, everyone deserves to have a safe and inclusive space where they feel comfortable being their authentic self. So what Sask Sport is saying actually is that women and little girls must abide by men and boys encroaching on their rights in sports. And then it gets so much worse. Like this,
the advice, like how to be more inclusive, I almost jumped out of my skin.
This is insane, you guys. So this is what Sask Sport is doing. This is the overarching organization in Saskatchewan that looks after all of the minor sports, So listen to this. If you're not sure where to start, check out these resources and coach workshops that can help you. So they are, oh my God, identities and terms, an intro into language. Out Saskatoon has created a booklet and general list of terms related to the LGBTQ plus community to reflect its vastness and diversity. You know what we say, everybody, diversity is our strength. Pronouns.org.
This is the one that drove me. I was like, there's nothing cuter than watching little Tom Thumb hockey, Tom Thumb soccer. Oh my goodness. If you've never seen Tom Thumb or like minis rugby, where
the cutest.
They just, it's flag rugby and they don't even care about the ball. All they care about is ripping off their buddy's little flag and throwing it on the ground and then celebrating.
Yes, it is the cutest
thing. But no, these people got to make it weird.
No, they say here is a website that shares tips on how to use gender inclusive language, such as changing from "let's go boys" or "let's go girls" to "let's go team." So Saskatchewan, Sask Sport wants you at your little guy's hockey game to not call him your son or little guy, okay? Because that's not inclusive. Or if you're at your daughter's ringette game or at your daughter's softball game, you can't say "let's go girls." You're supposed to use inclusive language to describe your own children. This is the advice from Sask Sport. It is patently insane that they would have put this out.
And it's also idiotic too, because like especially on like the younger levels, a lot of the sport is co-ed anyway. So you're just creating an issue that doesn't exist.
It's actually insane. It's actually insane. And then they go on to say the You Can Play project works to ensure safety and inclusion for all who participate. They have workshops which include allyship 101, inclusive coaching, LGBTQ plus 101 micro course, ambassador training, and tolerance in sport 101. This is where our taxpayer funds are going, Saskatchewan, to this Sask Sport garbage. Saskatchewan, being one of the many, many provinces in Canada that doesn't have protection for girls and women in sport, this is egregious and disgusting, a disgusting use of taxpayer funds. And I, for one, am absolutely livid at Sask Sport for participating in this garbage.
Yeah. I don't know what this has to do with anything on the field. Like, right?
Well, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's performative virtue signaling. And you know what? We're done with it. Us here in Saskatchewan. We're done.
Nice. We just have to get Scott Moe to be done with it too. I think
any year now, Scott. Any year, like any time you want to just amble on up to the plate and do a solid for women and girls in Saskatchewan. Well, look, this is happening on your watch. Another thing.
I think we just have the one chat, then we got to wrap it up because we've been going for over an hour and a half, and I got to make a phone call. Yeah, it's the quickest little bit of work that I do every single day. Carol Lyons gives us $10 and says, as much as I couldn't stand Trudeau talking, Carney is an absolute snooze fest. Carol,
amen.
Have you hacked my email? I've been saying this. Also, why can't any liberal answer a question? Thank you, ladies, for being awesome. Well, we appreciate you, Carol. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for being awesome, Carol.
All right. I think that's it. If any chats come in after the fact, we'll be sure to read them on the show next time. Lise, thanks for the best 2 days of the live stream that I have every single week. I say that because I am completely biased.
Well, it is, it's my pleasure, and it's my two favorite days of the week. So, everybody, thanks so much for having me, and thanks so much for joining us. And we will see you next Tuesday, same place, same time. No, actually, we'll see you on the weekend. We will see all of you guys on the weekend on Saturday at the Red Deer event.
Yes.
DoneGettingScrewed.com. You can get your tickets and see me there. And Sheila and the rest of us.
And the rest of us, and to surprise guests. I'll let them announce their presence themselves. But anyways, that's DoneGettingScrewed.com. Thanks, Olivia and Efron, who everybody works behind the board to make sure that the show is there for you to get whenever you want it. And can I ask you all to do me one big favor before we sign off? If you think there is somebody who needs to see the show today, would you mind sharing the link with them? Because it helps us get around the intense internet censorship out there and puts us in front of more eyeballs. And if you were compelled to say something about the work that we do, leave it in the comments. The more engagement we get in the comments, the higher up in the algorithm we get. And that is something that you can do to help us that costs you absolutely nothing. Okay, that's the show. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And as David Menzies always says, stay safe and stay sane.